He got added up for parking his tractor in the street, and he had to go to the court next day. And he stayed all day, 5 hours he waited. And when they come to his turn, the judge said, well, I think we've had enough time. We'll adjourn the court for the day. You'll have to come back tomorrow. Denzel said, you're a hairy-ass, pompous old fart. He said, 6 words, it's going to cost you a lot of money, £20 you're going to have to pay, contempt of court. So Denzel got looking in his pocket. He said, you don't have to pay now. Denzel said, no, I'm just seeing if I can afford 2 words more. But he said, what did you do on the 8th of March this year? He said, bugger all, Your Honor. He said, I beg your pardon? He said, bugger all, Your Honor. So he looked at the clerk of the court. He said, what did that boy say? He said, bugger all, Your Honor. He said something, I seen his lips move. But we've had a very sad event, ladies and gentlemen. In Cornwall, our local traffic warden have died. Isn't that awful? The bastards. And they got in the funeral, and there's all the other traffic wardens there. We got the funeral, and he started banging the top of the coffin. He said, I'm not dead. They said, we can't do anything about it now. We've done the paperwork. But ladies and gentlemen, I said to the boys backstage, can you recommend me a nice hotel in Radstock? And they recommended me a beautiful 27-bedroom, semi-detached slum. It's a lovely place. And last night they had a standing buffet, most unusual. Well, it had to be really, because it was a Radstock hemorrhoid society. Well, I went in the restaurant, she's digging her asshole in the restaurant. Very, very unhygienic. I said, madam, have you an itchy arsehole? She said, only what's on the menu. One of my daughters, she just got married. She'd been away on honeymoon. Well, she come home yesterday. I said, how did the honeymoon go? She said, he touched me head. I said, what? I said, he split your whiskers? I seen him. I said, the daughter said, you haven't split her whiskers. Not yet. Well, he said, I've never done it. He said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to start. I said, well, look, there's 2 dogs there. They're up to no good. You follow them dogs and you watch what they do, and tonight when you go to bed, you do what they do. She rung me this morning. Dad, she said, he come in the bedroom last night, he sniffed me asshole and pissed up against the bedpost. Then she said he dragged his ass across the carpet. And my bloody wife, that airy ass, fat and miserable looking lion pig-featured asshole cow. She's worse than you. Yeah. She come home from the doctor, Jethro. She said that the doctor, he stripped me off. Christ. And she said, he asked, why have I got one lovely tit this side, and this side he hang away about 2'6", with a nipple hanging on the end. He just hang away. Well, she said, I told him at night Jethro keeps sucking and pulling the long tit. He said, have you thought about sleeping in separate beds? She said, well, we sleep in bunk beds as it is. But the news is coming through that the Irish have in fact sent 2 rockets into Iraq. The first one, the stick broke. And the second one, the milk bottle fell over. But hey. Our local synagogue down in Cornwall, I've had a tax investigation. A bastard taxman. Is there any taxmen in? You wouldn't admit it anyway, you bastard. And he went in the synagogue, and in court now he said, I'm doing an investigation. We're not too happy with the financial affairs of this synagogue, and we think there's money going missing. Now he said, you've got all these candles here, and wax is falling off the candles. What happens to the wax that fall off? What a twat. They said, well, we collect all the bits of wax up, and we send them all back to the candle maker, and then once a year, he makes up a big candle, and we sell it for charity. Well, he said, okay, but I will be checking this out, and I should want to know who bought it and when. Twat. Now he said, I see a lot of men taking communion here, and there's a lot of breadcrumbs falling on the floor. What happens to the breadcrumbs? He said, well, we collect them all up, and the end of the year, we send them all back to the baker, and he bakes a big loaf, and we sell it for charity to the local old people. Now he said, there's also a lot of circumcisions going on. He said, what happens to all them bits of skin? Well, he said, we save them all up, and one year we send them back, and then once a year they send a big prick like you down to see us. A big prick like you. But I was reading in the paper that a North American Indian had been conscripted to fight with the Americans in Iraq, but he couldn't even speak the language. Poor bugger, he couldn't speak English. He's a North American Indian. He had to go and fight. Well, he didn't know what they're saying. Well, he got out there, and the big sergeant major said, what regiment are you? Well, he said, you know what regiment you are? Oh. Well, he said, are you parachute regiment? Oh. Well, he said, are you infantry? Infantry. Oh. He said, are you commando? Well, he said, are you reconnaissance observer corps? And he's gone. He run 5 miles, and he met another mate. He's a North American Indian as well. He said, where are you running from? He said, I'm not staying there with that bastard. He just told me when the rains fall and the grass grow, he's going to shag me till my eyes fall out. Hey, is there anybody in from France? Oh, shit, is there? Well, piss on me, you froggy twat. Bastard, using asshole, berry-ass, bastard, French, bastard, French, hairy-ass, frog-eating, shit-faced, slimy-skin, asshole, bastard, French, bastard. Do you realize they had more injuries in the World Cup than they did in the Second World War? When I was in the maternity hospital, there was me and the Frenchman and the West Indian. And the doctor came out, he said, you've all become the proud father of a beautiful baby son. Wasn't that lovely? Wasn't that nice? He said, the only thing is, we've mixed the babies up. Do you think with a bit of parental instinct, you would know your own baby? I said, of course. I said, of course. I said, I shall go first. I said, there can be no doubt. Now, I said, there can be no doubt about this whatsoever. I said, that black one is definitely mine. Well, he said, we were thinking the black one may have belonged to the West Indian gentleman. I said, it's nothing to do with the West Indian. That black one is mine. There can be no mistake whatsoever. He said, why are you so sure? I said, one of them white bastards is French, and I can't live with that. You know what it's like. You know what it's like when you get a night off and you get pissed. I'm a twat when I'm pissed. I got in the pub and I pissed, and I said, if you people in the pub, I said, if you bring me any hide of any animal in the world, you blindfold me, I can tell by the feel of it what sort of animal it was, and if you show me the hole in the hide where it was shot, I can tell you what rifle it was shot with. What a load of crap, and what a load of bollocks. Well, They blindfolded me and they brought in this hide. I said, yes. I said, that's a leopard. I wouldn't know. And they showed me the hole. I said, that's shot with a 30-06 rifle. Christ, I was right. That's another pint. When they brought in another one, I said, well, that's a zebra. And I said, it's killed with a spear. He's right. I went on all night. I wasn't wrong for the bloody night. I went home pissed as a bloody mattress. Well, I woke up next morning with a black eye. And I said to my wife, I said, last night, I must have got in the fight. Somebody give me a black eye. She said, I done that. She said, you come home last night, you put your hand in me knickers, you said a skunk killed with a hatchet.